This right here is the Mini Countryman, and it's available in either petrol form, or you can get this, the fully electric version. And did I not mention that this is a premium 5-seater SUV that looks unique, feels bespoke, and also drives a little bit like a go-kart? Well, all of that sounds great, but we're going to find out if it's any good. So before we start, please like, share, subscribe, and let's get straight into the video. Right, what are some of the key things that you need to know before you walk into a showroom? Well, firstly, this electrified version of the Countryman is the type of vehicle that competes with the BMW iX1, and on your screen are some other options that you should check out as well. And it is worth noting that the Countryman is also available in petrol form, and there are 3 different versions to pick from, whereas for the electrified versions, there are 2 offerings. Next, moving on to options, the Countryman is very bespoke when it comes to configuration in terms of paints, wheel designs, and interior combinations. And finally, for ownership, servicing, warranty, and running costs, everything you need to know is on your screen. Right, moving on to styling. So the front section gets full LED headlights with LED DRLs, automatic high beam, and this of course being the electric version. The front section has been closed off, so your air vent for the cooling is down on the bottom. And the colour of this example is finished off in a British racing green, which looks fantastic, and that is complemented by the silver trim. Well, depending on the lighting, it actually looks a little bit more bronzy, but in my opinion, I think this car looks fantastic. And now, moving on to the side view, this is sitting on a set of 20-inch windmill spoke design wheels that are finished off in a vibrant silver and gloss black and wrapped around in Pirelli P0 tyres. You also get power folding mirrors finished off in gloss black, black roof rails, and dark privacy glass from B-pillar to the end. Moving on to the rear design. So at the back, you have the classic Union Jack LED taillights, which are unique to Mini, and along with a top roof spoiler. Badging finished off in bronze, so a classic Mini badge and Countryman spelt out. But although the S badge is yellow because this is the electric version, and that bronze also extends down the bottom within that plastic body cladding. And now, moving on inside, this comes with a remote key, keyless entry with walk up and walkway door locking and unlocking. And to switch the car on, you've got this key style turner here where you turn it to the right hand side and everything turns on. And in terms of presentation, it is very retro, very 1950s, 1960s original Mini. So for example, the circular dial in the middle here, which resembles the speedometer, but being the 2020s, it is your infotainment controlling all of the car's functions. And if we talk about build quality, the door slam does feel solid, and I do like the fabric material that extends over the dash. The steering wheel does feel nice to grip onto. I like this fabric strap, but it is a bit thick. And of course, you've got some hard plastics on the top section, bottom section, along here, and on the bottom of the doors. But overall, more fabric in the middle. This is nice and squidgy. There's also ambient lighting across the dash, and this being specified in favoured trim, you get a panoramic glass sunroof, these JCW sport seats, and like I said, the fabric trim, which is finished off in a blue colour combination and transitions into beige, extending onto the door cards. And that is also complemented by these gold door handles, and it may not feel as premium as a BMW iX1, but it does feel very unique inside and very bespoke. Next, moving on to comfort, integrated within the infotainment is a dedicated climate menu, and there are also physical buttons for your front and rear demisters, and you can also heat the steering wheel and also heat the front row seats, which are fully electric, and in addition to the driver, a seat memory function with a lumbar support, and the steering offers both manual, tilt and reach adjustment. And now, moving on to infotainment, it all runs off this 9.4-inch circular screen, which is running a very similar system to BMW's operating system, and it does take a bit of time getting to know this system. So in the middle are your highlighted icons, down the bottom here are your key shortcut icons, and if I click on home, the 6 dots, that'll take you into all of the car's applications. And it is worth pointing out that this system is very configurable in terms of layout. So if I cycle into go-kart, that looks pretty fun. And you can also change between different layouts, so there's plenty to choose from. And my personal favorite is timeless, as that does look very classic. And it is worth pointing out that you do have buttons for media functions on the steering wheel, and there are also shortcut buttons down the bottom here with a volume dial. There's Spike, which is your personal assistant, or in other words, your voice recognition, and this dog is going to help you cycle between all of the menus. And if I go into this icon, this is your 3D satellite navigation, which looks very crystal clear. And this also entails augmented reality for the satellite navigation. And moving on to media, you get a 14 speaker, 365 watt Harman Kardon sound system, which sounds fantastic. AM, FM, DAB, Bluetooth, USB, Alexia built in. And for smartphone integration, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are both wireless. You can also download and integrate apps, and also download an app onto your phone to control some of the car's functions. And of course, being connected, you've got an SOS button up the top here to call for help. And if I go into this menu here, you've got an inbuilt drive recorder, which essentially is a dash cam, and also a camera up the top here, so a video recorder for the interior, and you also have the ability to take a selfie. And that all integrates within your driver profiles to set up and save all of your configurations. And there's also a dedicated menu for your consumption, and you can also go into this menu that shows you additional information about your charging. And now, moving on to safety, this comes with a 360-degree camera system with a self-parking feature. You can also enable a 3D mode, looking at every angle around the car, and you can also enable a car wash mode as well. And this also includes front and rear parking sensors, a front and rear cross traffic alert, an auto dimming mirror plus autonomous emergency braking, blind spot monitoring on the wing mirrors with safe exit warning, a lane keeping assistant with active lane assist, and this also includes a self-steering function. And finally, adaptive cruise control that keeps you within distance between yourself and the vehicle in front, and that also integrates within speed sign recognition. And over on the top here, a heads-up display on this glass plastic panel, and that shows you your speed sign recognition, navigation, and driver assistance. The glove box is a relatively decent size. It fits the owner's manual in quite well. You've also got a wireless phone charging pad down the bottom here, a bit of storage here and here, two small cup holders, and a little bin section. This doesn't open, but you can slide it forwards and backwards. And you've also got a 12-volt socket with two USB-C charging ports. And on the doors, decent all bin storage that could also fit a bottle of water. Here in the back with this seat set in my position, as you can see, knee room is okay, but toe room is a bit tight, but overall headroom is pretty spacious considering that you do get a glass sunroof. And over in the middle seat, again, headroom is very good, but knee room and toe room does come across a bit tight. And it's also worth noting that you can recline these seats backwards and forwards, but no ability to move the bottom base forwards and backwards like what you can do in some of the other rivals, like for example an Audi Q3, but you do get map pockets behind the front row seats, directional air vents, and two USB-C charging ports. The door bin storage is also pretty good, and that also fits a bottle of water. There are also grab handles up the top here with a light, and a flip down armrest with two small cup holders. And finally, for child seats, the two outboard seats are ISOFIX compatible, and right behind me, 3 top tether points. Let's now move on to boot space. So firstly, you get a power operated tailgate, which also entails a kick down function. So if you have the key in your pocket and your hands full, you can quite easily swipe your foot underneath and the boot will open. And from what I can see back here, there is enough room for a pram, a single large suitcase, and two carry-on suitcases next to each other. And you can also quite easily drop down the second row seats by pulling on a couple of levers. There are also cutaway sections on either side, and some tie-down points to keep items secure, along with some underfloor storage for your charging cables. But it is worth pointing out that this does not have a spare tyre, so instead run flats and a tyre repair kit, which is pretty typical for most brand new cars, especially riding on 20-inch wheels. Let's talk about what drives the Mini Countryman SE. So firstly, no storage space up the front, but this does feature a dual motor electric drivetrain producing 230 kilowatts and 494 newton meters of torque. And to charge up that 65 kilowatt hour battery, there's 22 kilowatts of AC charging and 130 kilowatts of DC charging, a claimed driving range of 433 kilometers, but it is worth noting that if you go for the entry level, you do get less power, but will range from up to 462 kilometers. Okay, moving on to driving impressions. Over the bonnet, there's great forward visibility. You do also sit high up, but you don't have as much of a commanding driving position like you do get in some of the other medium-sized SUVs. But overall, the window shape is boxy, so there's great forward visibility, good side vision, and the rear window is also easy to see out. The mirrors do come across a little bit small, but that 360 camera is fantastic. And in terms of controls, your gears are down here, so up for reverse, middle for neutral, down for drive, and you just push it down again to go into battery mode, and that will go into regen braking, and you press P for park, and that shuts the car off. And driving around town, it is an easy car to live with, of course being a Mini, and although this is one of the bigger Minis that you can buy, as you can see, it is very nimble. The steering is nice and light. It is electric, of course. The suspension tune is nice and soft, but dynamic at the same time. Like I said, this handles really nicely. There is a little bit of wind noise coming into the cabin, especially on the freeway, and a little bit of tyre roar because this is sitting on run flat tyres, so that is something that you are going to come across in most of the rivals with run flat tyres and these low profile wheels. The brake pedal feel is nice and smooth and responsive at the same time, and when you do accelerate, makes a funny noise. It does get moving, especially between 80 to 110 if you need to merge. But what is it like when you do put your foot down 0 to 100? So we'll just try that here. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Okay, it doesn't throw you back into your seat, but it does feel pretty quick. Driver assistance wise, the adaptive cruise control worked beautifully on the freeway. It was just as easy to configure like it is in a BMW, and of course, being a BMW based driver assistance system, yes, everything worked fine. There were no annoying beeps and bongs with the lane departure warning. And finally, energy consumption. So on your screen is what I was able to achieve driving around the city, on the motorway and around the country. So overall, nothing groundbreaking, but I am pretty happy with that result. So with my driving impressions out of the way, let's now wrap up with a verdict. So my final verdict on the Mini Countryman SE. Well, if I had the choice between choosing this electrified version over the petrol, I'd just stick with internal combustion because I think the Mini Countryman is a fantastic car if you want a 5-seater premium SUV that feels bespoke, that is configurable when it comes to options, and is also fun to drive and fun to look at. Whereas going for this electric version, I don't really see the value because range isn't all that great, especially at this price point. But tell me in the comments down below, would you go for a Mini Countryman? Would you go for the petrol or electric or something totally different? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe, hit that bell, and I will see you in the next film. Thanks for watching.